Hey everybody, welcome to another Code Music Chill episode here at Jashele Tech TV, where I'm going to be coding, listening to music, and chilling. So join me down below in the live chat. You can post questions, you can let me know what you're working on, and we can just interact and code. So let's get into it. Also, by the way, I just wanted to let everybody know that videos like these are going to be our premieres, which means they're pre-recorded. The only difference between these and regular videos is that you can actually chat. We can actually chat while the video is going. So this is not a live video, it's pre-recorded, and pretty much all my coding videos, at least for now, are going to be like that. I just didn't want anybody to be confused between a premiere video and a live video. I will be doing a live video coming up, but this is not live. It's just that we can interact and chat. So if anybody was confused about that, I just wanted to clear that up. So yeah, YouTube has a lot of cool things like that. So, all right, so let's get started. So for today's assessment / project, I'll be doing the Mozilla splash page from MDN's multimedia and embedding course. And this is part of the HTML structuring the web course. So if you were here last week, I did the intro to HTML assessment, and today, I just completed the multimedia and embedding section, so I'm doing the assessment for that. So what is this assessment? In this assessment, we'll test your knowledge of some of the techniques discussed in this module's articles, getting you to add some images and video to a funky splash page all about Mozilla. So the prerequisites, okay? That's it. Before attempting it, if you're going to attempt it with me, before attempting this assessment, you should already have worked through the rest of the multimedia and embedding module. And the objective is to test knowledge around embedding images and video in web pages, frames, and HTML responsive image techniques. And as simple as that sounds, this is a very important concept. Responsive images saves people bandwidth, saves people memory, it makes your website load better. So this is a really good topic to cover if you want to dive a little bit into that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and open up VS Code. And I actually already have the folder created, and I have the repo created in GitHub. All right, so I'm going to create an index.html for the home page. Okay, so for the starting point, I'm going to have to grab the HTML and all the images available in the GitHub, in the MDN's GitHub, save the contents of index, and then I'm going to have to save some images. So I'm going to head over to MDN's repo over here, grab the contents of index.html, and go ahead and paste them here into my VS Code. So once I save the contents of index.html in a file called index.html, then I need to save pattern.png in the same directory. So I'm gonna grab pattern.png and save that. So save pattern in that directory. So we got pattern saved in there. And actually, you know what, I forgot about something, because there's something on this document that says, oh, you should optimize your JPEG and PNG images to make them as small as possible while still looking okay, and Tiny PNG is a great service for doing this easily. So actually, I'm going to run it through Tiny PNG, run all the images through Tiny PNG first before I save. So I'm going to go back to pattern, which is already saved, but I'm going to go to tinypng.com, which I used to use this a lot in my previous role. So it kind of helps compress files more to just for memory purposes and reducing the size of the files by decreasing the number of colors in the image, fewer bytes are required to store the data. The effect is nearly invisible, but it makes a very large difference in file size. And this is directly from tinypng.com. Okay, so I'm going to take pattern.png. It's been tiny.png'd. Okay, so, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the other images I have to save as well. Alright, so the next section, the next paragraph says access the different images in the originals directory and save them in the same way. You'll want to save them in a different directory for now, as you'll need to manipulate some of them using a graphics editor before they're ready to be used. Alternatively, blah blah blah. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save these other images. And yes, I am saving to desktop, in case you're wondering, because I'm just gonna delete them later, so it's fine. I don't already have 1,000 images saved to desktop. 1,000,000, excuse me. Asterisks. Asterisk. All the images I just saved to the repo, saved from the repo, I'm gonna go ahead and put them on tinypng. The only image that I'm gonna omit is SVG, because it will not work, because it's this is for those what's called raster images. And just so you know, so a raster image, this is the scientific name of this. A raster image is an image file defined as a grid of pixels. They're also referred to as bitmaps. So it's usually JPEG, PNG, GIFs, ICO. So an SVG does not constitute as a raster image. So that's why I'm omitting that one. Cool fact of the day. So dragging them into the upload box. Gonna go ahead and download them all. Catch them all. Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. No. Do I need to... I'm wondering if I need to create another directory, because it says... Yeah, I'll create a directory called Originals, since they have it in a directory called Originals. And then... Okay, so all the images are in there now in the new images directory. Let's go ahead and save it. So this example HTML file that we're working with, it says it contains a lot of CSS to style the page, and we're not touching any CSS, just the HTML inside the body element. And as long as you insert the correct markup, the styling will make it look correct. So in this assessment, they're presenting us with a mostly finished Mozilla splash page, which aims to say something nice and interesting about Mozilla, what Mozilla stands for, and provide some links to further resources. Unfortunately, no images or video have been added yet. This is your job. You need to add some media to make the page look nice and make more sense. So the following subsections detail what you need to do. So they got all these different requirements of what you need to do, and this is the final result of what it should look like. It should be, it looks like it's responsive as well. So what we're pretty much working with here is the images and the video, mainly the media, because of course, again, this is a part of the multimedia and embedding course, so a lot of this is geared towards that. And if you watch my other videos, I take the requirements and put them into a nice, neat little checklist, so that I can see everything. I can check everything off, make sure I got everything covered, as far as the project being complete and meeting all the requirements. So I'm gonna launch a new window here. This is what we're working with right now, as far as what's on the page right now. So as you can see, there's nothing on the page, and it looks similar to what the final would look like, but not quite. So we're gonna have to add video, images, and images. But not just, it's not just a matter of adding the images in. There are requirements that have to be met there. So there's a little bit more involved. And I've learned a lot in this course. So the following screenshot shows what the splash page should look like after being correctly marked up on a wide and narrow screen display. Alright, so let's get this party started. It's already started. Okay. So one of the first things the checklist or the requirements asks is that you prep the images first. It'll be a lot easier to do this first. So using your favorite image editor, create 400 pixel wide and 120 pixel wide versions of these 3 images. And these images will be the icons to link to further resources inside the further info area. So I use Photoshop as far as an image editor. So they want us to create 400 pixels wide and 120 pixel wide versions of them. Firefox logo, Firefox add-ons, and Mozilla dinosaur head. Okay, so I'll go ahead and resize this to, it was 400, right? 400, okay, so 400. And just save that as, I'll just add 400 on the end of that. And then we need a 120 pixels version of it as well. Image size. All right, great. So we see it go into VS Code. Great, we got that. All right, next is Firefox add-ons.jpg. This one's already 400, so I'm just gonna save it as 400, and then I'll just make a 120 version of it. Last but not least, dinosaur head. Okay, so all of the images named there now have a 120 and 400 pixel version. So I can go ahead and actually just check those off of my handy dandy checklist, and I'll make it bigger just in case. So the next image prep asks that we create a 1200 pixel wide landscape version of redpanda.jpg and save a copy of that, and then a 600 wide portrait version that shows the panda in more of a close-up shot. All right, so I'm going to open the panda image in Photoshop. I'm going to close those out first. All right. So 1200 wide and then a 600 wide. So I'm going to call it Red Panda 1200. And then we need a 600. Okay. That looks fine. However, so because I know the context of the course, I know what they're wanting for this 600 pixel image. Basically, when you go to a smaller device, like if you're on a phone or something like that, what they're wanting is the panda to be closer up, and this is really not going to work for that. So a lot of times, sometimes it may require cropping of the image to make it look good in a smaller browser, and then we'll see that later. But it's something called art direction, and I'll pull it up here. I can pull it up on MDN. So on MDN, art direction is basically the problem whereby you want to serve cropped images for different layouts. For example, a landscape image showing a full scene for a desktop layout, and a portrait image showing the main subject zoomed in for a mobile layout. So if we want the main subject zoomed in, then the best thing to do would be create a totally new canvas and make it 600. So we just need to, so I'm just going to create a new canvas, make it 600 by about 350. And I'm going to take the panda, paste it in. And so if I'm viewing this on a mobile layout, again, actually, instead of that, I'm gonna actually not resize it to 600. The panda image, I'm gonna take it back to 1200. And then copy it, because it looked a little bit distorted when I pasted it over. So I'm going to keep it at that high resolution and just paste it in, and then make the panda kind of the main subject. So that's what they call art direction. So again, if I'm looking at it from a mobile standpoint, panda is going to be more zoomed in, because you know phones are really small, so you'll want to kind of crop that a little bit. So that's what I'm going to use for the 600, and I think that looks fine. So I'm going to merge all the layers. So now we have Red Panda 600 and Red Panda 1200, and that's exactly what they wanted for that. Okay. And I can go ahead and just mark those off as well. So now I'm going to start coding everything in to get this looking like it's supposed to look. All right, let's go. So the first thing is adding a logo to the header. So right now we see that there is no logo in the header, and the mock-up has a logo on the right. So So inside the header element, add an img element that will embed the small version of the Firefox logo in the header. So in the code, index.html, I'm actually just going to toggle this. So it has a little comment here for us: insert img element, link to the small version of the Firefox logo. So I'm going to add img. So the small version is the 120 pixel PNG. So I'm just gonna add that there, and then for the alt tag, Firefox logo. All right, so I'm gonna just save that, and then we got the Firefox logo popping up there, all nicely there. So gonna check that off. That was easy enough. So next, adding a video to the main article content. So there's a video here on the left of that paragraph. So as you can see on the left right now on the actual screen, there is no video just yet. So it says, just inside the article element, right below the opening tag, embed the YouTube video found at youtube.com/blah blah blah, using the appropriate YouTube tools to generate the code. The video should be 400 pixels wide. So I'm going to go over there to that link.
Who owns the internet? The answer is everyone, which is...
Okay, so again, using the appropriate YouTube tools to generate the code, and we are so we're going to embed it, actually, not just link it. So clicking on the embed on YouTube, just going to copy the embed code, and they said just below the article, just inside the article element. So that's going to be here, insert iframe from YouTube, and then 400 pixels wide. So right now it's 560, so I'm going to change that to 400, sorry, 400. By the way, you see it's how it says iframe here, and just to kind of give you a little context, if you're not familiar with iframes, the iframe HTML element represents a nested browsing content embedding another HTML page into the current one. So an example here on the MDN website, for example, they have a map right here, and the source is coming from somewhere else. So it's representing, it's embedding another HTML page in a current one. So if you weren't familiar with that, I've used iframes before. Not so much now, unless it's something like this. All right, so let's go ahead. So you don't see the video yet, so I need to save the code, and bam, the video's there, all nice.
Who owns the internet? The answer is everyone, which is why thousands of volunteers give their time and talent to...
I don't know why I thought they were going to say so many volunteers give their life for this. I don't know why I thought that. He said give their time. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, so we got the video element in there. It's 400 pixels wide, so we can check that off. So the next thing is a little bit more involved. So it's adding responsive images to the further info links. Further info is this little red section over here that we're going to have to add images to. And this is where responsive images come into play. So this is not talking about creating responsive images with CSS, because of course we're not using CSS, right? We're not playing around with CSS right now, just the HTML. It's talking about creating responsive images with only HTML. So this is why we had to create different size images in the beginning. All right, so the checklist says inside the div with the class of further info, you'll find 4 A elements. So these are our 8 elements here inside of further info, and each one linking to an interesting Mozilla related page. To complete this section, you'll need to insert an IMG element inside each one containing appropriate src, alt, src set, and sizes attributes. So it looks like the requirements want us to use an approach called resolution switching with different sizes. Again, that's why we had to make all those different images earlier. So because the requirements want you to use what's called the size attribute. And these are, so src set, first of all, in sizes, these provide several additional source images along with hints to help the browser pick the right one. So resolution switching, the problem that it's solving is to display identical image content, just larger or smaller depending on the device. So the standard, of course, the standard image element traditionally only lets you point the browser to a single source file. But with source set and sizes, I'm going to read it again. You're able to provide several additional source images along with hints to help the browser pick the right one. So I didn't even know this. This is something new that I learned. You can insert more than one and then put a media condition to say that, okay, at a max width of 600, use the 480 pixel. Use the 480 pixel image. Otherwise, use the 800. This is like a conditional. The comma it separates them. But you're still gonna use the source and alt, because some older browsers don't actually support this yet, or I don't know if they ever will. So if the browser doesn't support it, then it'll fall back to this regular source. But if you're using a new common browser, then you'll be able to take advantage of this memory, resolution switching, which helps you save memory, bandwidth, things like that. Okay, and then the checklist says in each case except one, which they're talking about the .svg image, because it's inherently responsive. We want the browser to, and I'm going to stop there, because first I need to insert the regular source first of each image. So looks like we need to insert the logo first. So source using the 400 version. Alt, Firefox logo. Second image is the dinosaur head. Alt, dinosaur head. And then the, what is that, add-ons? And then let me move the SVG out of, actually, I'm just going to copy it and then paste it into the root directory. Okay, so we should be seeing the images here in a second. Boom. All right. So the images are there. So what they want is, in each case, we want the browser to serve the 120 pixel wide version when the viewport width is 500 pixels wide or less, or the 400 pixel wide version otherwise. Make sure you match the correct images with the correct links. And to properly test the set sizes examples, you'll need to upload your site to a server Then from there, you can test whether they're working properly using browser developer tools such as the Firefox network monitor. So first, before we get to testing, I'm going to kind of use this as a guide example over here, this code from the docs, from the NDN docs. So the first image that we're working with here is the logo, the Firefox logo. So we already have the source. I'm going to enter down. And we have the alt as well. So what I need to add is the source set. So the first image is going to be the, let's see. They have it over here. They put the smallest image first. So Firefox, I don't know. So I'll do the 120 version. You put it in there. And then you specify the width, 120W. So just to explain that a little bit. So the image's intrinsic width in pixels, 480W. As seen in the example, 480W, note that this uses the W unit, not PX, as you might expect. This is the image's real size, which can be found by inspecting the images file on your computer. So that's what the W is. So it's saying the logo 120W. And then I'll add another one by placing a comma. And then putting the 400. And then add a 400W for the width. Now sizes. If you're familiar with CSS media queries, that's basically what this is. So what MDN says here is at a max width of, so serve the 120 pixel wide version when the viewport width is 500 pixels wide or less. So I need to do, so at a max width of 500, we're going to serve, we're going to serve the, that looks weird. Oh, okay. Serve the 120 pixels. Otherwise, serve the 400 pixels. There. So we got it. So now, that resolution is going to switch based on screen size. It's going to change the image based on screen size. And so now I'm going to do this for the other images as well. Now, of course, I'm not going to be adding that to the SVG because SVGs are they automatically are responsive anyway. So that's not going to have the source set and sizes resolution switching. Okay, and just checking over the code. Okay, so for the other three, I have the dinosaur head, 120 and 400. Same media conditions. Whoops, wait. Do I have... Oh, I have dinosaur head more than once. Whoops. No. Wait, okay. Firefox add-ons. Copy. It was just this one. Okay. So, yeah, and then Firefox add-ons, 120, 400. Screen size conditions. Okay, so before I move on to the next step, which the next step is adding in the panda image, I actually want to go ahead and just test out the images that I have here. Just test out the resolution switching. The assessment recommends that you use Firefox to test it out. And somewhere I read something about Chrome caches the images and you can't really test it out properly because I don't know, honestly. I'm just going to use Firefox to test it out. So, and then it's saying you need to upload it to a server. So I'll go ahead and push it up to GitHub. All right, so I'm going to head over to GitHub. And I've already uploaded it. I've already created a GitHub pages for it. So I'm going to paste this over in Firefox. And see what we got here. So basically using Firefox's developer tools for this. And so what we're supposed to be seeing is, again, at a max width of 500, it's supposed to be showing... at a max width of 500, it should show the 120 pixels image, and then at the anything bigger than that, it'll show the 400, which is what we're seeing now, the 400 pixel images. All right, so from what I see, so we'll go ahead and reload it. So what I'm in right now is Firefox's network utility. Is that what it's called? Firefox network portion of the dev tools. So as you can see, the 400 images have loaded now. Now if I bring it down to a mobile view, you'll see the one, I don't know if you can see that, but you'll see those 120 images load. And also you can see them, they've gotten smaller. So reload it again. All right. So yeah, that you can see the 120 images, in which you don't see it once it first loads. You see that the 400s load. This 120 up here, by the way, this is the Firefox logo up here on the right. So go down to mobile, it brings us our 120s. All right, so we got that working, and the images is definitely going to save somebody some memory and some bandwidth rather than loading very large images, which from what I read in an article that this is better than doing it in CSS, because in CSS it's still gonna load that 3000 pixel image or 2000 pixel image. It still has to load it regardless if it's responsive. And so while this may be great for someone with, you know, a high internet speed, things like that, for somebody, if you want your website to be as accessible as possible, you know, this is a good method to go with to save, to you know, for everybody. So that's just something to think about. I read it. I either watched it on a video or read it somewhere, and I can link that down in the description. But I'm just so glad I'm learning this. This is just a different approach to responsive images. So there's a little nugget there. And so I'm done testing that. Okay, so for this, so I'm going to check off. So we got adding the responsive images as well as serving particular images based on screen size. We've tested it. So the last thing we have left is an art directed red panda, which is this panda right here. So inside the div with the class of red panda, we want to insert a picture element that serves the small portrait panda image if the viewport is 600 wide or less, and the large landscape image otherwise. So what is an art directed panda, red panda? There's no such thing as an art directed red panda. Yes, there is. You said there was no such thing? I was just kidding. No, there is. What is art direction? Art direction is the problem whereby you want to serve cropped images for different layouts. For example, a landscape image showing a full scene for a desktop layout, and a portrait image showing the main subject zoomed in for a mobile layout, which I talked about earlier. And you solve this problem using the picture element. So for example, typically, you're going to use the image source, the regular image source, where it's only going to point to one image, which, they show an example on MDN actually has an example. So for instance, you can see this header up here. It looks nice and everything, but the thing is, when you start getting into smaller screen sizes, that header is so small, I really don't know what that is. I think it's trees and people walking, but what they're saying is to crop it out, and so that the people or the main subject still remains intact no matter what screen size you're on. So once they add it in there, then they show an example of the art direction. So now those people, no matter how small it is, those people remain the main subject, which is what they want here for this particular layout, versus, what we saw earlier, the people become so small we can't even really tell what that is, versus this, we can tell what it is now. So that's what they mean. And so that's what they want us to do with Panda. They want, when you're in a desktop Panda, you can see everything, but if you're mobile, hey, the most important thing is we see the panda, and that's what the requirements are asking us to do. So we're gonna I'm basically gonna follow this example down here on MDN. They have a nice little example here for us, and I'm gonna just kind of copy what they did down here. And just referring back to the checklist, so you're gonna insert a picture element. So to do that, you'll just insert the picture element, and inside of that you're going to use the source element to basically insert your conditions using the media attribute, and then the source that goes along with that condition. So what's the first condition? So the first condition, if the viewport is 600 wide or less, we want the small portrait of the panda. So we're gonna use the source element, insert that, media attribute. So at a max width of 600, we want to serve Panda 600. And for that, we use source set. Okay. And don't forget, and also, I'm not gonna add a second conditional, because if it's not once it gets over 600, it's gonna automatically go to the next thing. And in this case, so I'm not gonna say min width of 601. Like, it's gonna know because there's nothing else. There's no other condition. It's like the browser's gonna say, okay, the max width of this, do this. Oh, okay. So we're at 601. let's go ahead to IMG, which that serves as, this SRC does serve as a fallback, but it also serves as, that's what we're gonna go with if we're not at that particular, if we're not at that 600 or less screen size. So red panda is our alt tag. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a given, right? So we don't need to put that second one. I'm just gonna line them up kind of like I did the ones above, like that. Okay, so that's our whole picture element right there. Okay, and let's take a look. All right, it's in there. And we're looking good. So I'm gonna push this up to GitHub, test it live. Panda, panda, panda. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing. Go ahead and test it out in Firefox. Bring up the network utility here. Sorry, network monitor, not network utility. All right. Web dev tools. So as you can see, when we reloaded, red panda 1200 is coming up in the network monitor. And then we go down to the smaller size. Wait, let me refresh this again. Okay, we go down to the smaller size. You can see 600 is down here in the monitor, 600 by 350. So it goes down to the size that we need. Now I can also test this out in Chrome too. So if I go to Chrome, go down, and you see how Panda still remains the main subject. So the desktop shows the landscape, the full image. Go down to mobile, Panda, see, because if I go right about here, like right here, you see how small Panda would be if I just kept that versus, you know, zooming in. So that's the difference that makes. It makes a huge difference as far as the user experience. So that's pretty important. So if I'm on mobile and I'm browsing this, you know, we want those icons small and we see Panda, but it doesn't take away from the main information and why we're there. Okay, so we got everything up and running. We met the requirements. We did our job. We got our job done. And hopefully the client likes it. Our Mozilla splash page. So as usual, it's up on GitHub if you want to check it out. I don't know who else out there is doing this course, but if you're out there, I'm rooting for you. Oh yeah. So looks good. We met. Let's finish these check marks. And so kind of just looking ahead. Today is the 7th. Today's the 7th. I recorded this video on the 7th. And just looking ahead here. So this is the section I actually just finished, the multimedia and embedding. I finished intro to HTML, and now I'm going to HTML tables. So HTML table has it has 2 modules and 1 assessment. So I'll be back to do this structuring planet data assessment. Oh, that looks fun. It really does. And I'm just going to kind of go through it. I'm going to go through CSS, JavaScript. I'm going to go through web forms, accessibility, tools and testing. I'm probably not going to go through all tools and testing. I may go through React and maybe, well, I'm definitely going to go through Git and GitHub, cross-browser testing, things like that. So that's what this is about. This is what this series is about right now. I'm basically just going through this entire course and just kind of going back over the fundamentals and improving my skills. If you've been reading my blog posts, things like that, I'm going to be making videos, or I'm going to be posting articles. This is one of my recent articles, adding closed captions to videos with HTML5, which that's what I learned in multimedia and embedding. I actually learned that from that, and I kind of explain it. And this is the easiest way for me to learn, is to involve other people, making videos, writing articles, seeing what other people are working on. And I am a community, on my website, I'm a community-centered software developer with a passion for creating and learning new things, and I'm community-centered. I enjoy actually sharing what I'm learning, because I don't know, I just like that community feeling, just knowing that, other people are working on stuff and learning, and so am I. So it kind of helps me meet other people, get support, and also me having to explain what I'm doing actually makes me a better developer too. So not only am I doing these courses, but I'm also explaining what I'm doing. So it's mostly for me, but it's cool that other people like to watch my videos as well and kind of support me, and and I support other people as well. But I will be back next time, and hope you join me in the next Code Music Chill. And who knows, after this MDN, I don't know what I'm going to do after that. I'm just focused on this course right now. So I'll be back later. Bye.